how much impact does using your air conditioning have on the fuel economy of our car? Does it matter that much? And what strategies can we adapt to maximize our fuel economy but keep the car nice and cool? In real world conditions, we can actually be wasting 10% of the fuel that we use just to keep the car cool. And the big mistake drivers make is generally turning the air conditioning down to the lowest settings so they get a real blast of cold air. You've noticed as you drive along and the air conditioning cuts in, the car feels less powerful, and that is more noticeable on lower powered engines. The air conditioner does take power out of the engine. It does use up fuel. Now, the first thing that we could consider is opening the window. At lower speeds, under 30 miles an hour, this usually is the best way of keeping the inside of the car cool. For most of us, at low town speeds, having the window open will provide sufficient cooling. We can just have the blowers set to maximum to bring in fresh air from the outside, and as the air moves over us, it'll aid the body's own cooling system and we'll feel relatively comfortable. But the thing is, as the speed increases, now we're talking about 55 miles an hour upwards, you start to introduce drag. The car starts to act like a parachute, and at that point it is better to switch on the air conditioning and keep the windows closed. Now, just thinking about the physics of heat and hot air rises. Hot air tends to sit at the top of the cabin. By having the windows open very slightly, we can allow the hot air to escape without creating a significant amount of extra drag. If your car has a display that shows the outside temperature, it's generally best to just set the inside temperature to 1 degree below that. The air conditioner then is not trying to maintain a big temperature differential. There's obviously going to be a significant amount of thermal gain with the light shining through the windows as we drive along. There's a bit of a greenhouse effect going on in our car. The heat goes straight into our car and doesn't escape through the windows. So the air conditioner is going to be doing more work to cool the car down, but it's still going to be doing less work if we have the temperature just set to 1 degree lower. I say this because I've been in cars where people have turned the temperature right down, and it's lovely getting into an ice cold car on a hot day. But as soon as you get out of that car, you're overwhelmed by the heat. Your body has adjusted to the cooler temperature and you start to sweat more, and it feels more uncomfortable just because you've been used to that colder climate inside the car. Another thing that we can do on these hot days is to use the Recirculate option. Using Recirculate will generally pull air from inside the car that has already been cooled a bit through the air conditioning system and just maintain the temperature. So again, the air conditioning system is doing less work to maintain a set temperature. Again, on really sunny days where the thermal gain inside the car is really high, it may be best just to switch the Recirculate off and vent in some fresh air from outside just to compensate for this heat buildup that is happening inside the car. I found with many years of driving, experimenting with watching my fuel consumption, and it's very subjective, I'd ideally like to give you a chart of how much fuel the air conditioner uses if you use it at a set temperature, but it is so variable. With every run and trial that I've done, I've seen different variations of 5 mpg, and it's really hard to gauge. You really need long runs and long periods at set temperatures in order to make any proper statistical analysis of this problem and come to a scientific conclusion. Parking in the shade will just prevent the heat building up in the car, and that's obviously the big problem. When you go into the car, first of all, a lot of heat has built up. You've had the closed glass windows. The car itself has acted like a greenhouse and has built up a lot of heat. Minimizing that by parking in the shade will go a long way to reducing the strain the air conditioner has to lower the temperature. And when we first open the car up, open the doors, let that hot air come out. Just wait a minute or two, and that again will save quite a bit of extra strain on the air conditioner and the engine and your fuel economy just by dissipating that. And by opening the windows just a crack to let the hot air out, to use the Recirculate option judiciously and setting the temperature to just below the outside ambient temperature will go a long way to maximizing our fuel economy. And if we can save that 10% of fuel, maybe only use 2 to 3% of our fuel, that really does add up over the year. Again, the summer months that we get in the UK are not that many, so it probably won't make that much of a difference to our motoring budget over the years. But a lot of drivers might save 50 to £100 during our very long summer day that we have over here in the UK. Let me know what your strategies are for keeping your car cool. Have I missed any tips out in this video? If I have, please let me know. Please boot the like button. That really does help us to get out there. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We've got lots of great content lined up. And speaking of great content, you'll enjoy this video and this playlist you'll find really interesting. Thanks for watching. See you in these next videos.